Hope that you didn't get too comfortable. Because once again, these anti-white forces of cultural Marxism and mockery are back at it. They won't stop. They're always on the offensive, always on the grind. Especially in places like the United States and the UK for obvious reasons, because they're the two most advanced countries in world history. They were created by white people, and they have been selected for systematic destruction by diversity and equity. Marxism. Communism, which, by the way, is Jewish. You see, the accomplishments of our civilizations, the accomplishments of our countries and of our ancestors and of our ancestors' creations, their beliefs, their relics, their monuments we've dedicated in their memory, all of those things are on the chopping block. Every one of those things is being marched into the court of diversity and convicted and then obliterated and destroyed, never to be seen again. Over in England, in the capital city of London, actual English people are a minority. And the mayor is a Muslim. And for that matter, the prime minister is an Indian Hindu. On London's West End, where the British have their version of a Broadway, a new production of Romeo and Juliet is preparing to debut, featuring a diverse cast and becoming just the latest piece, really, of centuries-old white artwork to be weaponized as a display case for white replacement. Tom Holland, the actor from Spider-Man, will play Romeo. And Francesca Amado Rivers will play the diverse version of Juliet. In this modern rendition of this Shakespearean classic that's been dubbed Romeo and Shaniqua. Now, I'm sure that that's just a coincidence, but over the past few days, this play has been everywhere in the press. It's been covered by all of the usual suspects, the people that I named. The corporate communication rags that are used to plant distractions and plant wedge issues into the general population. You ever notice that they never talk about anything that you and your family are talking about at the freaking dinner table? Nothing of importance at all whatsoever. Nothing that makes a difference in your life. Romeo and Juliet don't matter for the prosperity of your children. Romeo and Juliet aren't forcing your kids to get a vaccine. Romeo and Juliet aren't forcing your kids to chop off their dick and call themselves a girl. No. And this is no exception. It's very obvious that this version of Romeo and Juliet is being used as a culture war beachhead. And if you don't like it, you're a racist. And because it's probably funded by Jews, you're probably anti-Semitic as well. I mean, why not? Everything is racist and anti-Semitic. After the play and its cast faced this barrage of criticism, most of it extremely valid and pointing out the obvious attempt at disrupting something beloved by white people, the Jamie Lloyd Company, which is directing and producing the play, released a statement throwing around the usual buzzwords, acting like they're Napoleon at the anti-white version of Waterloo when they said that they would protect their cast members at all costs. Listen, the statement reads, quote, "Following the announcement of our Romeo and Juliet cast, there's been a barrage of deplorable racial abuse online directed toward a member of our company. This must stop. We're working with a remarkable group of artists. We insist that they are free to create work without facing online harassment. We will continue to support and protect everyone in our company at all costs. Any abuse will not be tolerated. Oh, and will be reported. Bullying and harassment have no place online in our industry or in our wider communities." It continues. "Our rehearsal room is full of joy and compassion and kindness. We celebrate the extraordinary talent of our incredible collaborators. The Romeo and Juliet community will continue to rehearse with generosity and love and focus on the creation of our production." End quote. End quote. Maybe I should have been Romeo. You see, people are so predictable. It's the same damn thing every single time with these people. They take something that's beautiful, and then they completely destroy it and turn it into an abomination. They make it ugly. And if you don't like it, they just accuse you of a hate crime. And then they use the corporate media to enforce it. These people, like this Jamie Lloyd company, they took a timeless work of art, something a lot of people think is really beautiful, and then they used it to make a Marxist political statement. They took this third world black chick who would be considered hideously ugly by the standards of any race, who makes Michelle Obama look like the prom queen, and then they cast her in the role of someone so beautiful that she's worth actually dying for. I mean, it's ridiculous on its face. No pun intended. But it's not like they're the first ones to do this. This has been a fad now for years. Like turning Julius Caesar into a black guy or Alexander the Great into a butt pirate. Anything to diminish the creations and the accomplishments and the mere existence of white people. Remember Hamilton? When the founders were cast as a bunch of minorities and people actually thought that it was because Hamilton in real life was black? There are actually people who think that because of that play. And though Hamilton may be the one that the white race could agree to give up, considering he's the guy who surrendered America to the international banking cartel right from the very start, but what all this comes down to is this obsessive Marxist anti-white desire to redistribute the accomplishments and the ideas and the culture of white people, the success of white people, to groups who have never accomplished on their own. Who, when Shakespeare was writing Romeo and Juliet, they'd yet to master the concept of the wheel, let alone a written language. And the entertainment industry is the perfect place to roll this agenda out because right along with the academia, it has the attention of the people. It's the perfect field to run a psyop through, to demoralize the population. Hollywood Jews have been doing it on screen for decades. A theater stage is no different. I don't know. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Arthur Kwan Lee may agree and may not. We'll ask him now. Do you?
Well, this is just another arm of trying to erase white racial consciousness, as we know, which has always been by the playbook. And it's interesting because all of these great attempts to be revisionists in our history, you know, they're done so successfully in the arts, but it's an arm of what many people know as a Kalergi plan. And you're making me think of this excerpt of, it's called Practitioner Idealismus, which is what Kalergi wrote. And the whole idea is to try to make white people accept the intermarrying of different race mixing, but the plan was to first make them all accepted in the high arts. And you know, I was looking through my notes before I went on this before I came on here, and can I read you a quote?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I want to read you a quote by Israel Cohen. Okay, so this is a part of the Kalergi plan, just so you know. The plan being to destroy white racial consciousness once again, and he's a thought leader of the Zionist movement, and he also served as the secretary of the World Zionist Organization. So he writes,
sounds like a
we
great
must
guy.
Realize. But this is a mic drop here. He writes that we must realize our party's most powerful weapon is racial tension by propounding into the consciousness of the dark races that for centuries they have been oppressed by the whites. We can mold them in the program of the Communist Party. In America, we will aim for the subtle victory. While inflaming the Negro minority against the whites, we will endeavor to instill in whites a guilt complex for the exploitation of the Negroes. We will aid the Negroes to rise in prominence in every walk of life, in the professions, and in the world of sports and entertainment. With this prestige, the Negro will be able to intermarry with the whites and begin to progress, which will deliver America to our cause. So this is just a part of the playbook. The idea of that, you know, we're going to basically cause white people to feel this internal guilt with the fake virtues, Talmudic virtues of tolerance and diversity. Meaning it's a progressive idea to not acknowledge the social cohesion that your forefathers have left you. Abandon your identity because you're being virtuous with this pseudo virtue. So what is new here? They're just doing more satanic inversion by just their language play and owning all of this, right? So this is by the playbook, and this was written in in the Kalergi plan. But it's interesting because when you actually study this actual strategy of destroying white racial consciousness, specifically in America, he actually says the Aryan people, they admit this, the Aryan people are too strong to confront directly. We need to be manipulative. We need to use the arts and the entertainment. We need to make them castigated from a sense
We need
of
to
class.
use mysticism and we need to use trickery.